Chosen one. Heaven has been watching. When you whispered yes to God, even when the world mocked your obedience, the eyes of eternity saw you. Every unseen act, every quiet surrender, every tear you wiped away before returning to prayer, it was all recorded. You thought no one noticed, but heaven did. Angels stood still when you refused to compromise. The very breath of God hovered near when you chose obedience over convenience. You didn't need applause, and you didn't ask for validation. You just obeyed, and that is what marked you. Heaven's register of obedience has your name written in light, glowing between the lines of divine remembrance. Now, as the world grows darker, that record begins to speak. It whispers, "This one has proven faithful." You may not feel like the chosen one, but look closer. Your scars are not random. They are signatures of divine training. God hid you not to punish you, but to prepare you. When others rushed into visibility, He kept you behind the curtain because the stage He prepared for you required endurance. Obedience built what applause could never sustain. This moment, right now, is not coincidence. Heaven has pressed pause on the noise around you. The Spirit of God is saying, "I saw you when you obeyed quietly, and now I will reward you openly." You are not forgotten. You are about to be revealed. So listen carefully. Chosen one. The winds are shifting. What once resisted you is about to recognize you. Every delay is converting into direction. Every moment of waiting is about to make sense. You thought you were losing time, but in truth, God was building weight. There is a difference between delay and development. Delay feels like silence. Development sounds like heaven rearranging your destiny in secret. Your obedience has triggered the release of revelation. The Father has been waiting for this point of maturity, the moment where you no longer serve Him for reward, but because your heart recognizes His voice. That is what separates the chosen from the crowd. You did not obey because you were promised something. You obeyed because you knew who was speaking. And now, the atmosphere shifts. A divine Unveiling begins. God is saying, "Because you obeyed, I can now trust you with what others only dream of hearing." Revelation is not just information, it is responsibility. What He is about to tell you will require both courage and humility. You will not only hear secrets, you will carry them. The Holy Spirit is aligning your steps with divine precision. The confusion that surrounded you is clearing like morning fog. What felt heavy is becoming holy. The Spirit whispers, "Now, they are ready." Heaven's timing is never late, it's layered. Every battle you faced wasn't punishment, it was preparation for this unveiling. You have entered the threshold of divine conversation. Heaven has something to tell you, not because you demanded it, but because you qualified through obedience. Many want revelation, but few are trusted with it. God reveals His secrets not to the loudest voices, but to the most surrendered hearts. This is that hour. Your spirit is being summoned into divine clarity. You are not here by mistake. Even the message reaching your eyes and ears right now, it's not an algorithmic coincidence. It is a divine orchestration. Heaven has waited for this moment to whisper truth into your soul. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 24, "Whoever hears my words and obeys is like a wise man building on the rock." That's you, chosen one. You built on the rock when everyone else built on the sand. You stood when storms came. You obeyed when understanding was absent. And now, your foundation will speak for you. God is ready to tell you everything, not because you asked, but because you endured. So before this revelation unfolds, pause it, breathe. Let gratitude rise from within you. Whisper softly, "Thank you, Lord, for seeing me when no one else did." Now, lift your hand to your heart and let this be your prophetic act. Say aloud, "I am ready for what heaven is revealing." If this word confirms what you've been sensing, don't scroll away. Take a moment to align with heaven's movement, like, share, and subscribe, so the message of obedience can reach others who need this awakening. Then, in the comments below, write the number 777 as a sign that you receive divine completion and heavenly revelation. The scroll has begun to open. The voice has begun to speak. And heaven says, "Because you obeyed. Now I will reveal." Oh, chosen one, the scroll of heaven is unsealing before your spirit. What was once concealed in divine silence now begins to breathe its message into your heart. You can almost feel it, like the trembling of ancient parchment being opened by unseen hands. This is not imagination, it is revelation. The mysteries of your journey are being translated into meaning, one line at a time. For so long, it felt like God was silent. You prayed, waited, and wondered why heaven did not respond. But the silence wasn't absence, it was incubation. Every unanswered prayer became ink on this scroll. Every moment you stayed faithful, every tear you cried in trust, became a word written by God's own hand. Now, the seal breaks, and heaven's script begins to speak your name. The Spirit whispers, "You did not lose anything by obeying. You preserved the mystery until its appointed time." Others may have taken shortcuts, chasing results without revelation. But you waited for divine timing. That waiting has qualified you to read what others were never meant to see. The hidden wisdom of God is being unveiled to those who chose surrender over speed. Do you feel it? The atmosphere of your life is shifting. You sense that something sacred is approaching truth, long concealed behind the curtain of patience. Heaven doesn't waste words, and it never releases revelation casually. When the scroll unseals, it does so to release power. You are not just hearing something new, you are being invited into divine understanding. The secrets of heaven are always protected by the discipline of obedience. That's why your wilderness mattered. It trained your ears to recognize His tone. The untrained mind hears noise. The obedient heart hears instruction. You didn't just survive your silent season, you were shaped by it. Now, the words written long before your birth are aligning with the days of your life. The scroll speaks not of theories, but of assignments. It tells you that your obedience has opened a gate. What was locked is being loosed. What was delayed is being delivered. You are standing in a corridor between what was promised and what is about to manifest. This is the divine pattern. Revelation follows obedience, never the reverse. Many want knowledge before surrender, but the chosen learn that surrender is knowledge. When you said yes without knowing where it would lead, heaven recorded that yes as the password to deeper things. Listen carefully now. The scroll is speaking your identity back to you. It says that you were never ordinary. Even in your moments of uncertainty, heaven knew your resolve. God saw the battle between your desire and His will, and He watched as you laid down your own dreams to carry His. That choice opened a portal of wisdom. Now you see differently. You perceive not only what happens, but why it happens. You will begin to connect memories you once misunderstood. Seasons that felt wasted will now be revealed as woven strands of purpose. Every detour had divine direction embedded within it. The seal breaking means you are about to understand the reason behind the pain, the purpose behind the pressure, and the promise behind the pruning, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 22, he reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what lies in darkness, and light dwells with him. That is what is happening right now. The hidden is being revealed. Light is entering the dark corners of confusion, illuminating the meaning behind everything you endured. You thought some seasons broke you, but in truth, they carved you into the shape required for revelation. Now you will see that nothing was wasted. Every wound, every silence, every unanswered prayer was part of the molding. Heaven used pressure to make you precise, pain to make you prophetic, and waiting to make you wise. You were being shaped for divine disclosure. Chosen one. What you are about to receive will not just comfort you, it will commission you. Revelation always comes with responsibility. You will not only know, you will carry. Heaven trusts you because you proved faithful when there was nothing to gain. You proved that obedience was not a transaction, but a declaration of love. So breathe deeply. Feel the scroll's words settle into your soul. Let the divine ink soak into your memory. From this moment on, you will no longer walk in partial understanding. You will walk in divine clarity. The sealed mystery is now your message. Chosen one. You were tested in silence. Heaven did not announce your trial. No lightning split the sky when you decided to stay faithful. No choir sang when you refused to compromise. Yet the silence of those seasons carried the loudest approval of all God's quiet nod in your direction. You wondered why he didn't speak louder. But his silence was not absence, it was endorsement. He trusted you to keep walking without constant confirmation. Those who are truly chosen do not require validation to continue. They walk through deserts sustained only by whispers. That was you. You learned how to breathe faith in a vacuum. You discovered how to pray when no answer came, how to love when no one returned it, how to believe when everything contradicted belief. That is how God identifies his trusted ones, not by what they receive, but by what they keep giving when heaven seems silent. Do you remember the nights when you asked, "Why me?" The moments when the heavens felt locked and your prayers returned like echoes. Those were not ignored petitions. They were measurements of your endurance. You were being weighed in faith's balance, and you did not fail. There were times you thought, maybe I misunderstood. But the truth is, your understanding was fine. It was your timing that was being refined. Heaven delayed the visible so that your roots could deepen in the invisible. You were not being punished. You were being proven. Every tear was training. Every disappointment was discipline. Every closed door was divine design. And now the record is clear. You stayed. You didn't run, even when your heart wanted to. You didn't quit when your soul grew tired. You kept believing when evidence disappeared. That endurance became the fragrance of your obedience, the perfume that caught heaven's attention. God saw every battle you fought alone. He saw the nights when you sat in stillness, too exhausted to speak, but too faithful to leave. Those moments are sacred. The kingdom runs on such unseen loyalty. The world celebrates loud moments, but heaven crowns silent ones. The Spirit of God whispers now, "You passed the test most never see." When the crowd disappeared, you remained. When applause faded, you still lifted your hands. That is why you are now entering revelation. Heaven never reveals secrets to the untested. Revelation is not a reward, it is a trust. God does not entrust divine secrets to those who crumble under silence. And here lies the paradox of your preparation. Your hidden season was not hidden from heaven, it was hidden for heaven. Every unanswered prayer formed the language of your destiny. You were not being ignored, you were being instructed. Even in your confusion, heaven was teaching you how to recognize divine stillness. Silence is not the absence of God's voice, it is the echo of His presence. He was closer than breath, yet speaking beyond sound. You learned to recognize Him by rhythm, not by volume. The ancient path of the obedient always leads through silence before glory. It is written in the Word that strength is perfected in weakness. The silence was your classroom, and you have graduated with honor. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." And that verse is not just comfort, it's confirmation. Your pain produced proportion. Every hardship weighed against eternal purpose now tilts the scale in your favor. What once broke you is now building you. You are being shaped into a vessel capable of carrying the weight of revelation without cracking under it. Chosen one. There is power in what you endured. You became fluent in heaven's quiet language. You can now discern movement in stillness, presence in delay, and purpose in pain. The world may call it struggle, but heaven calls it certification. So let this truth settle. You were never forgotten, you were being formed. What others mistook for abandonment was actually alignment. God did not go silent because He left. He went silent because He trusted. When a teacher is silent during the test, it means the student already has what's needed to pass. And you did. You are emerging now with authority born of endurance. You no longer speak theories, you speak from the trenches. That's why your words will carry weight. They are written with the ink of experience. Pause here. Chosen one. Let your soul acknowledge what heaven already knows. You made it through. You didn't just survive, you matured. You became who you were meant to be, in silence. Now, as a prophetic act, type, "I'm still here." Write it as a declaration, not a comment, as a testimony that you endured the storm and refused to let silence you. When you type it, you agree with heaven's record, that you stood, that you stayed, that you still believe, because heaven is watching again. And this time, it is no longer measuring endurance, it is preparing reward. Chosen one. The whisper that guided you through darkness now begins to rise in volume. What once felt like a faint impression in your spirit is transforming into a voice with authority. The divine whisper becomes the voice. Heaven is no longer hinting, it is declaring. The season of subtle signs has ended. The season of spoken revelation begins. For years, God spoke to you in fragments, through moments, impressions, patterns, and coincidences that didn't make sense. You saw numbers, dreams, and strange timings that seemed almost supernatural. Yet you couldn't fully interpret them. That was the whisper phase. the era of coded messages meant to sharpen your sensitivity. The Spirit was training your ears to discern His tone, not merely recognize His words. Now, the tone shifts. The voice speaks plainly. It says, "This is the way, walk in it." You no longer have to guess which door to open. Heaven is marking it with unmistakable peace. Confusion is leaving your atmosphere, replaced by divine clarity. You can sense it in your spirit. What was once blurred is becoming bold. You are hearing with new precision, and it is not by accident. Obedience has tuned your frequency. Every whisper you obeyed prepared you for this clarity. When God whispered, "Wait," and you waited. When He whispered, "Forgive," and you forgave. When He whispered, "Stay still," and you resisted the urge to move prematurely. You were learning His cadence. And now, when the voice speaks loudly, you will recognize it instantly. Many crave revelation, but cannot discern the source. Yet you, chosen one, will know the shepherd's sound. In this season, you must become comfortable with divine disruption. The voice may command sudden moves, quai de departure, or new beginnings that make no logical sense. But logic is not the language of heaven. Obedience is. When God speaks clearly, He requires swift alignment. You will find that delayed obedience in this hour can become disobedience. Do not fear the clarity of His command. The same voice that gives the instruction will also provide the grace to fulfill it. Heaven never demands without supplying strength. You will feel divine courage rise within you, a supernatural confidence that does not come from emotion, but from revelation. Chosen one. Your obedience has earned you access to clarity that others cannot comprehend. What was once hidden under layers of confusion is now unveiled. You are beginning to see life from a heavenly vantage point. The voice that formed galaxies is now forming direction inside you. Every command from God is an invitation into intimacy. When He speaks, He's not just guiding your steps, He's revealing His heart. His voice carries not just direction, but affection. When you hear Him say, "Go," it is not a cold instruction, it is a warm reminder that He trusts you enough to carry His will into the world. This clarity will not come through chaos, but through peace. Whenever you question whether it is truly God speaking, measure it by this. Does it bring peace that surpasses understanding? God's voice carries stillness. Even when the command is radical, the enemy's voice carries pressure, God's carries presence. And as you learn to respond, you will find a rhythm with heaven. You will no longer stumble through decisions or fear missing the moment. The one who whispered in the dark is now speaking in the light, and His words will align your path with divine purpose. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6, "In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths." This is not mere poetry, it is the promise now unfolding in your life. You acknowledged Him in the small things, and now He directs you in the great. You learn to consult heaven before moving, and now heaven moves with you. This is partnership, not passivity. You are not simply waiting for divine guidance, you are walking in divine rhythm. The voice that once tested your trust now reveals your reward. You are no longer a servant waiting for instructions, you are a friend entrusted with divine secrets. The same God who once said, "Be still," now says, "Advance." And because you obeyed the stillness, your advancement will carry acceleration. The next time you sense that inner stirring, the sudden knowing that comes without explanation, do not question it. That is the voice of your shepherd, calling you into deeper waters. Follow without fear. For every step you take in obedience, the path ahead will illuminate one step further. The road will not reveal itself all at once. Revelation always unfolds in proportion to trust. Chosen one, lift your head and listen. The whisper that sustained you has become the voice that will now lead you. You have graduated from hearing hints to carrying instructions. Heaven no longer hides the message. It declares it through you. The voice has come not to confuse, but to confirm that you have always belonged to Him. Chosen one. While others sought stages, you were crowned in the shadows. The world saw silence, but heaven saw ceremony. In the dim corridors of your hidden life, a crown was placed upon your spirit, a crown not made of gold, but of endurance. You were anointed not in public fanfare, but in the private chambers of divine approval. Every unseen act of faith became a gem on that crown. Each time you forgave, when no one apologized, another stone was added. Every night you prayed for those who wronged you. The crown grew brighter. You didn't know it. But while you wept, angels worked. While you bowed in surrender, heaven built your throne in secret. The shadows were your sanctuary. Like a seed buried beneath the soil, you were hidden not because you were forgotten, but because you were growing. If the seed had been exposed too early, the light would have scorched it. So God covered you. Your hiddenness was divine protection, not punishment. And now, the soil is breaking. The crown that was formed in silence is about to shine in sight. But listen closely. Beloved, the crown is not for vanity, it is for victory. You were crowned so that when you rise, others will know that humility still leads to glory. Do you remember when David was anointed? The oil did not fall on the brothers who looked impressive. It searched for the one who served faithfully in the field. You, too, have been in the field, tending what looked small, caring for what seemed unseen, and that is exactly where heaven found you worthy of the oil. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 75, verse 6. For promotion comes neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but God is the judge. He puts down one and sets up another. That verse breathes over you now. Your promotion was never in human hands. God Himself holds the pen that writes your elevation. You are being lifted not by popularity, but by purpose. The same hand that covered you is now revealing you. Your crown was forged from things others despised: rejection, waiting, forgiveness, perseverance. Each became gold under heaven's fire. That's why you shine differently. Your glow is not glitter, it's grace. The crown doesn't make you proud, it makes you gentle, because you remember the pain that built it. So when the world begins to notice your light, stay low. Let the crown remind you of who placed it there. Your assignment is not to outshine others, but to illuminate the path for those still walking through darkness. If these words reach your heart, let this moment become a bridge of connection. Messages like this are not entertainment, they are ministry streams of living water flowing through technology into your soul. If you feel that flow, if this light touches your life, consider pouring back into the river that nourished you. When you like, share, or subscribe, you're not just clicking, you're carrying the flame to someone who's about to give up. And if your heart feels moved, If you sense that this message is divine nourishment, your donation becomes a seed of gratitude. Every offering, no matter how small, is like a drop of oil poured upon the message, fuel for more light, more words, more souls reached. Think of it not as giving away, but as sowing upward, planting into eternity's soil. What you send from your hand becomes part of heaven's harvest. Your obedience, your generosity, your engagement, it all echoes beyond the screen. Every act of sharing says, I want this light to reach someone else. Every gift whispers, Lord, use me to keep the flame burning. That is not manipulation, it is mission. You have carried the weight of waiting, now you carry the mantle of witnessing. Your story is a torch that others need to see. So, do not shrink when the crown begins to shine. The same God who anointed you in the shadows will anoint you to stand before kings. The difference is that now, you will know that the light does not belong to you. It flows through you. Chosen one, lift your spirit and breathe this truth. You were never overlooked. You were prepared. Every season of silence was heaven's blacksmith shop, shaping your spirit into a crown that could hold divine weight. And when that light finally reveals you, do not rush to explain. Just wear the glory with humility, and let the radiance speak. Your crown is not metal, it is mercy. It is not decoration, it is declaration. It says to the universe, this one remained faithful. And now, heaven responds, this one will be revealed. Lo, so shine, chosen one, not arrogantly, but accurately. Walk as one who carries heaven's approval, because the shadows that once hid you were the very hands that crowned you. Chosen one, the time of listening has become the time of moving. The voice that spoke through silence now gives you divine instruction for your next step. Heaven is not vague anymore, it is precise. What once felt like waiting now transforms into walking. You are standing at the edge of divine direction, and the ground before you is glowing with purpose. For a long time, you asked, Lord, what do you want me to do? You searched for signs, confirmations, and open doors. But the answer was never far away. It was forming inside your obedience. Every small yes you gave before has shaped this moment. God does not reveal the next step until the previous one is sealed with faithfulness. You have sealed yours. And now the next instruction unfolds. The first thing heaven says is, move without fear. The path ahead may look uncertain, but clarity is often disguised as courage. God doesn't always show you the entire map, because faith needs space to breathe. When he told Abraham to go, he didn't give coordinates, he gave a calling. And that's what he gives you now, a direction filled with divine assurance. You will begin to sense shifts around you, doors closing, relationships realigning, opportunities redirecting. Don't panic when things fall away. It's not loss. It's leading. Some connections were assignments, not anchors. God removes what's expired so that what's eternal can enter. The instruction you receive will sometimes sound simple, but it carries spiritual weight. When he says, forgive, it's not suggestion, it's strategy. When he says, step out, it's not risk, it's revelation. The next instruction will test not your hearing but your trust. You have learned to discern his whisper. Now you must learn to walk on it. Faith is not proven by understanding, it is proven by movement. If you wait to understand everything, you will delay what was designed to deliver you. The Spirit says, you are entering your next divine assignment. This is not about comfort, it's about calling. Heaven is realigning your life so that your purpose can find its proper position. That means some routines will be disrupted, some plans rewritten, but everything shifting around you is proof that the Word is active. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy. Chapter 28, verse 2. All these blessings will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. Oh, this is the essence of the next phase. Obedience opens overflow. The instruction is not a burden, it's a bridge. When you follow divine direction, blessings do not chase you randomly. They are assigned to you. They locate the coordinates of obedience. That is why your next step matters so much. Every act of alignment triggers acceleration. You may feel unqualified or unsure. But remember, God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. The instruction will stretch you beyond comfort, but it will never leave you without covering. You will find divine strength in unexpected places. People will show up to help you that you didn't even pray for. Provision follows purpose. There is also a warning wrapped in love. Do not delay. Delayed obedience weakens revelation. When the Spirit speaks, respond quickly, even if it's just a small step. Sometimes the instruction will sound unreasonable. Give, forgive, go, or stay. But remember, heaven doesn't operate by reason, it moves by rhythm. You will notice confirmations begin to echo around you, phrases repeated, songs that speak directly to your heart, encounters that feel divine. These are heaven's way of saying, keep walking. You're on track. The instruction might not make sense now, but obedience always reveals meaning afterward. And when you take that step, you will sense a supernatural peace. That peace is your proof. The enemy imitates urgency. God confirms through stillness. When you act out of divine direction, your spirit will feel anchored even when circumstances feel unstable. That's the evidence of divine leading. You are calm in the middle of chaos. Chosen one. This is a holy intersection. Heaven is watching for your movement. Do not look back to what's comfortable. Look forward to what's calling. The next instruction is not a test of your ability, it's a revelation of your identity. You are not a wanderer, you are a carrier of divine purpose. And now, as a prophetic act, type 888 below, not as a number of chance, but as a sign of new beginnings multiplied. 8 is the number of resurrection, of things starting afresh after completion. When you type it, let your spirit declare, I receive divine direction for my new beginning. It's not superstition, it's symbolism. Heaven responds to agreement, and agreement begins with action. So move. Chosen one. Step where you once stood still. Speak where you once stayed silent. Forgive where you once held back. The next chapter of your destiny does not begin with applause, it begins with obedience. And as you move, heaven moves with you. Chosen one. The time of separation has begun, not the separation of rejection, but of refinement. Heaven is dividing light from darkness, truth from imitation, and obedience from performance. You may have already begun to feel it. People who once felt connected to your spirit are quietly drifting away. Paths that once ran parallel now move in different directions. Do not grieve what God is gently pruning. This is the holy separation of the obedient. There are seasons in a divine journey when companionship becomes clutter. When you first began, many walked with you, some out of admiration, some out of curiosity, and some because they recognized the fragrance of destiny around you. But as you ascend higher, the air thins. Not everyone can breathe where you are going. The path of obedience narrows intentionally, so that only those willing to carry the same weight of surrender can continue beside you. Do not mistake this holy loneliness for abandonment. You are not being left behind, you are being set apart. The road of the chosen was never meant to be crowded. Every prophet, every vessel, every messenger of heaven faced this point of divine division. It is the moment when your purpose becomes too specific to be shared casually. Some will misunderstand your quietness. They will call it distance, arrogance, or change. But you know the truth. You are simply guarding the oil. The anointing that cost you so much cannot be poured carelessly into every conversation. There is wisdom in withholding, power in privacy, holiness in hiddenness. In this season, God is filtering voices around you. You will begin to notice that not every familiar sound still carries grace. Some words that once encouraged now distract. The Spirit will sharpen your discernment, allowing you to hear beyond tone and see beyond faces. What once sounded like support may now feel heavy, and what once felt unnoticed may now shine with divine affirmation. Follow that feeling. It is heaven separating signal from noise. This separation is not punishment, it is promotion. When God calls someone higher, He must first lighten their load. Some relationships were scaffolding meant for the construction phase of your soul. The structure is complete now, and the scaffolding must come down. If you cling to what God has removed, you will carry unnecessary weight into a season built for flight. Do not chase what left gracefully. Let those who no longer understand your calling go in peace. Love them, bless them, release them, but do not return to the crowd for comfort. Crowds do not crown, they confuse. Only heaven crowns, and heaven does so in solitude. In these moments of pruning, your heart may ache. The silence after separation can feel louder than the noise of old company. But know this, the same hand that removed also remains. God's presence is not reduced when people depart. In fact, His nearness becomes more tangible, because there are fewer distractions between your heart and His. Sometimes, separation is the only way for revelation to expand. As long as you stay surrounded by familiar voices, divine direction becomes muffled. God removes comfort, so you can hear calling. He distills your environment until His voice becomes the clearest sound in your life. That is why you feel both lighter and lonelier. He is making space for Himself. You are being called to purity of focus. The mission ahead requires clarity of heart. Those who walk with divided loyalty cannot go where single-minded obedience is needed. Heaven is aligning a remnant, a smaller circle of souls who carry similar surrender. You will meet them soon, those who burn with the same quiet fire, who understand without explanation. They will not compete or compare. They will simply know. That will be your confirmation that divine separation has finished its work. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 15, verse 19. If you extract the precious from the worthless, you shall be as my mouth. This is your calling now, to discern what is precious, to separate divine from distraction, purpose from popularity, spirit from spectacle. It may seem like loss, but in truth, it is refinement. The gold of your destiny must be purified before it shines before kings. So when solitude surrounds you, don't resist it, reverence it. Solitude is the sanctuary of the obedient. It is the place where God's voice echoes clearly and His secrets are whispered softly. You will come out of this with sharper vision, deeper wisdom, and unshakable peace. And when you look back, you will realize that what felt like separation was actually selection. Heaven was not pushing people away from you, it was pulling you closer to Him. The narrow road was never punishment, it was preparation for revelation's fullness. So stand still in this holy dividing. Let the pruning continue without fear, because once this refining finishes, the next chapter of your obedience will carry an authority that cannot be faked. You are being set apart not for isolation, but for impact. Chosen one. Something sacred is descending. The air around your life has shifted. You can almost feel the weight of something invisible pressing upon you, gentle, yet undeniable. That is the mantle. Heaven releases it only after obedience has been proven, after surrender has been sealed. The mantle is not a symbol, it is substance. It is the unseen garment of divine authority that rests upon those who endured without bitterness and served without boasting. When God places a mantle, it is not about recognition, it is about responsibility. The mantle is heaven's way of saying, you are ready to carry what once would have crushed you. It doesn't make you superior, it makes you accountable. You are now trusted with influence not for fame, but for function. Where you walk, the atmosphere will shift. Where you speak, hearts will tremble, not because of you, but because of the Spirit upon you. The weight of a mantle is not always comfortable. It carries both glory and gravity. Those who wear it lightly soon collapse under it. But those who wear it humbly find strength in surrender. You have already learned that obedience builds endurance. And now, that endurance becomes the foundation for divine power, as the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay. Then, this verse breathes through your spirit, right now. The appointed time has arrived. The mantle you have waited for, the clarity, the calling. The empowerment is no longer in delay. It has been traveling toward you through every season of surrender. It waited for your maturity, not your mood. It arrives the moment. Heaven knows you will not use it for ego, but for service. You may feel an unusual stirring in your spirit lately, a heaviness that is not sorrow but sacredness. That is the mantle pressing upon your soul, asking for permission to rest. Do not resist it. Welcome the weight, for it comes with wonder. You will soon find that what once drained you now fuels you. The same compassion that once broke you will now empower you. The mantle carries three things: divine sensitivity, divine authority, and divine endurance. Sensitivity allows you to discern what others overlook, the whispers of God, hidden in ordinary moments. Authority enables you to confront darkness, to speak peace into chaos, and to move mountains with words soaked in faith. Endurance allows you to carry the weight without collapsing under it. Together, these three form the framework of your anointing. The moment you accept the mantle, your language changes. You no longer say, "Why me?" you begin to say. "Send me." You no longer fear the storm. You understand. You were born to calm it. The mantle does not make you louder. It makes you deeper. It roots your power in humility, not pride. Those who see you will sense a shift. Though they may not understand it, you will not need to explain. The evidence will speak through peace, wisdom, and divine timing. Carrying a mantle also means walking differently. You must guard your spirit from distractions that drain discernment. Some conversations will no longer fit your calling. Some entertainment will no longer nourish you. You are not being restricted, you are being refined. The mantle requires focus, because it magnifies both blessing and consequence. Every choice now echoes in the spirit. When the mantle rests fully, you will notice divine acceleration. What once took years will happen in moments. Not because you are rushing, but because heaven is. Divine favor will identify you in rooms you never entered. Words you speak will carry solutions you didn't plan. People will be healed simply by your presence, because the presence resting on you has authority. Chosen one. Do not shrink from this weight. You were born for it. You were prepared in the shadows for this exact descent of glory. The mantle is not random, it carries your name. Written by the same hand that wrote your destiny. Heaven never wastes oil. And God does not place mantles on unstable shoulders. Yours have been strengthened by surrender, tested by tears, and proven by patience. This is not a moment to fear, it is a moment to bow. The mantle is falling. Let it rest. Let it redefine you. And when you rise, rise not as the same person who waited, but as the vessel chosen to carry what others could not. Chosen one. The tables are turning. The same enemies who mocked your patience will soon witness your promise. The ones who laughed when you waited will fall silent when they see what heaven has written over you. You were never losing. You were being positioned. Every moment you appeared still was a divine setup for revelation. There were times when your endurance looked like weakness. You were accused of inaction, of lacking ambition, of letting life pass you by. But God was measuring you, not by how quickly you moved, but by how deeply you trusted. The enemies who watched you wait misunderstood what was happening. They thought delay meant defeat. But the heavens record differently. Delay was design. You did not fight back because you were weak. You stayed silent because you were wise. There is a kind of strength the enemy cannot comprehend, the power to stand still and watch the Lord fight for you. You chose peace over proof, surrender over shouting, and heaven saw it all. Now the reversal begins. God is rewriting your story in front of those who misread it. Every insult, every mockery, every doubt will serve as the backdrop to your divine unveiling. This is not revenge, it is revelation. When the glory of God begins to shine through your life, no explanation will be necessary. Those who questioned your calling will have no choice but to admit, surely, the Lord was with them. Do not let bitterness mingle with vindication. God's justice is not about humiliation, it is about demonstration. The purpose of this turnaround is not to embarrass your enemies, but to enlighten them, to show them that obedience is never wasted, that faithfulness is never forgotten. You are not rising to gloat, you are rising to glorify. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still. That verse has been echoing through your waiting season. It was not an invitation to inactivity, it was a command to trust. You were never asked to prove your worth to those who doubted. You were asked to stand still long enough for heaven to prove it for you. And now, heaven moves. Your enemies are about to witness what happens when a surrendered soul is vindicated by God Himself. No argument, no gossip, no accusation can stand against the favor that's about to surround you. You will see situations reverse effortlessly, not through striving, but through divine orchestration. Relationships that once crumbled will return transformed. Opportunities that vanished will reappear, refined. The same people who said, "You're finished," will soon say, "How did you rise?" This is not about superiority, it is about stewardship. God will elevate you in the same spaces where you were once overlooked, so that you can demonstrate grace under glory. You will have the chance to respond differently, to bless those who cursed you, to lift those who left you, to love without the need for validation. That is true victory. Remember, the best way to silence opposition is not through argument, but through evidence. Your life itself will become the sermon. The transformation visible in you will preach louder than any defense. When God vindicates, He does not need your voice, He uses your results. And when that moment comes, when the people who doubted you begin to approach you again, do not harden your heart. You are not called to prove them wrong. You are called to prove God right. Your gentleness will reveal your growth. Your peace will testify of your preparation. Mercy, not malice, will mark the chosen one. The spiritual reversal has already started. What was once heavy is turning into honor. What was once delayed is turning into demonstration. You will feel it like morning sunlight breaking through long clouds, the quiet warmth of God saying, "I told you to trust me." You may still see resistance, but now it cannot stop you. What used to wound you now becomes witness. Every insult turns into oil. Every scar shines like proof of perseverance. You are living evidence that silence is not weakness, it is strategy. So let this truth settle deep. Your vindication is not coming, it's already unfolding. You are stepping into a season where divine justice and divine mercy meet. You will stand before those who doubted you, not to boast, but to bless. Now, type, "I forgive them." Enter. Write it not for the sake of words, but as a declaration of release. When you say it, you unlock the final part of your deliverance. Forgiveness is the doorway that allows God's justice to complete its work without interference from your emotions. When you forgive, you make room for heaven to finish what it started. Let peace flow through you as you release them. The same enemies who watched you wait will one day thank God that you did. Chosen one. Heaven is now balancing the scales. Every tear that fell in silence, every sacrifice that went unseen, every quiet act of faithfulness you thought was forgotten, God has counted them all. The time of divine compensation has arrived. You are about to see how heaven pays back, not in portions, but in overflow. When God restores, He does not return things to their former condition, He multiplies them. The very areas of your life that were once barren will soon blossom. It will feel like rain falling after years of drought. The ground of your spirit, long cracked and dry, will suddenly breathe again. The rain will come without warning, yet right on time. This is how divine compensation moves. It surprises, but it never arrives late. You thought certain losses were permanent. You assumed the story had ended at the chapter of heartbreak, but the author never stopped writing. What you called the end was only a comma in heaven's sentence. Now the narrative shifts from sorrow to satisfaction, from endurance to abundance. Compensation doesn't always come as things. It comes as transformation. You will find yourself smiling in places that once made you weep. The peace that eluded you will return, not because your circumstances changed, but because your spirit matured. The greatest reward is not what you receive, but who you become in the process. Yet God is also practical. He remembers the material and emotional seeds you planted in faith. Every act of giving, every moment you chose to help someone when you were barely standing yourself, every prayer whispered for others when you were the one in need, all those gestures were deposits in heaven's economy, and heaven always repays with interest. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25, I will restore the years the locust has eaten, my great army sent among you. That promise lives in your timeline now. God is not only giving back what you lost, He is redeeming the years that seemed wasted. Every moment you thought had slipped into oblivion is being revalued, rewritten, and resurrected. The locust of pain devoured time, but heaven is multiplying the harvest. Chosen one. When divine compensation begins to flow, your heart will overflow with gratitude. Let that gratitude move you to action, not out of obligation, but out of honor. This message, this stream of truth that reaches you through a screen, exists because heaven allows it to flow through willing vessels. When you like, share, or subscribe, you become part of that flow. You extend the current so others can be reached, healed, and restored just as you are now. And if this word waters your soul, consider watering back. A donation, no matter how small, is not payment, it's participation. It is the act of saying, Lord, I will help keep this river flowing. When you sow into what blesses you, you partner with heaven's harvest. Your seed becomes like the widow's oil poured out in faith, multiplied in miracle. You never know whose drought your drop of generosity will end. This is how God works. He transforms gratitude into giving, and giving into growth. When your heart overflows, your hands naturally open. Every share, every seed, every act of engagement is a ripple that carries divine comfort to another soul in silence. That's what this ministry is, a river of restoration that never stops moving. So let your heart rest. You don't need to strive or chase. Compensation is already on its way. You only need to stay positioned, faithful, thankful, and open-handed. Sometimes heaven releases blessings through invisible channels, unexpected messages, sudden opportunities, strangers who become answers to prayer. Be ready to receive through uncommon means. And when those blessings arrive, don't rush to explain them. Simply whisper, "This is my recompense." Let gratitude replace anxiety. Let peace take the seat where fear once sat. Every good thing returning to you now is not random. It is recognition. Heaven remembers who you are, what you carried, and how you kept believing. Your story is not one of loss, it is one of restoration. The same God who watched you sow in tears now commands you to reap in joy. So lift your head, chosen one. The payback has begun, not in bitterness, but in beauty. Every drop of sorrow is being converted into oil for your next season. Every waiting year becomes wisdom. Every no becomes a necessary direction. God does not waste pain, He reinvests it. And the interest is about to overflow into every part of your life. Chosen one. The hidden language of your destiny is beginning to unlock. The patterns of your past, the moments that seemed random, the encounters that appeared meaningless, the seasons that felt cruel are aligning into a divine code. Heaven is revealing that nothing in your story was wasted. Every thread, every delay, every disappointment, every miracle, they were all pieces of one grand design, woven together by the hands of the Eternal. For a long time, you asked, why? You looked at pain and purpose as opposites, never realizing they were partners. What felt like chaos was actually choreography. God was writing in a language your pain couldn't yet read. But now, the translation has begun. The Spirit is decoding what confusion once concealed. You are starting to see that God never abandoned you. He was editing you. Your life, chosen one, has been written in prophetic ink. Every trial was a word, every triumph a punctuation mark. You are not living randomly. You are living a revelation in progress. The unlocking you feel is not only in your mind, it is in your memory. Heaven is bringing back moments you forgot, memories that once haunted you, not to torment, but to teach. You will revisit certain days, and instead of pain, you will sense purpose. You will say, now I see why. The divine unlocking is not just about understanding, it's about activation. Revelation without application is wasted light. As God connects the dots of your journey, He will also commission you to help others decode theirs. What once confused you will now become your counsel. You will carry clarity for those who are still in the fog. This is how God works. He hides truth in time. The mystery of your pain could not be understood in the moment because you hadn't yet become the person who could interpret it. Time wasn't just healing you, it was teaching you heaven's dialect. Each year translated another layer of divine wisdom. What felt like waiting was actually downloading. You are entering the realm of divine hindsight, where your spirit sees backward and forward at once. You will look at past seasons, not with resentment, but with reverence. What once broke you now becomes your blueprint. God used the enemy's attacks as hidden ingredients in your anointing. Every betrayal taught discernment. Every delay taught dependence. Every heartbreak taught holiness. Now, heaven hands you the keys to your own story. The code breaks open, and understanding floods in. You will begin to sense how specific and intentional God has been. The timing, the people, even the losses, each was written into the scroll of your preparation. The things that once made you question your worth were actually proof of it. God only tests gold. He never wastes fire on dust. You may find yourself awakening in the night, your spirit stirred by sudden remembrance, a face, a word, a place, and realize it was never random. Every detail had divine fingerprints. The Spirit is teaching you how to read your life prophetically, to recognize heaven's handwriting on your past. The very things you thought were curses will now reveal themselves as clues. It is written in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose. Oh, this verse is no longer just a promise, it is your reality. You are witnessing all things converge. The puzzle pieces are no longer scattered. They are forming the image heaven always saw. What once seemed contradictory now fits perfectly. You are learning the rhythm of divine reasoning, where even pain becomes prophecy. In this clarity, you will notice a new peace settling in your heart. You will stop striving to understand what you have already outgrown. Your questions will lose their edge because the answers have turned into awareness. You will no longer ask, "Why did that happen?" but, "What did it build in me?" That is maturity, the transformation of confusion into comprehension. And as revelation deepens, so does responsibility. To understand is to steward. You will be called to guard what you now know, to use wisdom with compassion. You will find yourself speaking from a place of healed understanding, helping others decode their own divine riddles. The knowledge you carry is not for display, but for direction. Chosen one. This unlocking marks a turning point. You are no longer living in reaction, you are living in revelation. The fog that clouded your heart is lifting, and what remains is gratitude. You finally see it. Every delay was divine. Every detour, deliberate. The plan was perfect, even when it hurt. Now your soul stands in awe of how precise God has been. You realize that the author of your story never lost control of the plot. Every chapter, dark or bright, was necessary to bring you here, to this page, where understanding meets peace. Chosen one. Heaven has written your name into the records of remembrance. Your obedience has not dissolved into silence, it has ascended into testimony. Every quiet act of faith, every whispered prayer, every moment you chose righteousness when compromise was easier, it was written down. The scroll of remembrance in heaven has turned to your page, and now the ink of eternity glows where your name is inscribed. You may not see it, but in the unseen realm, your faith has left footprints. Angels walk the corridors of divine memory and see your record shimmering like light. There is a fragrance attached to obedience, and heaven recognizes yours. What you thought was forgotten has become fragrance before the throne. When you obeyed in private, heaven applauded in public, only in a realm your eyes could not yet see. The Lord has been tracking your journey, not by success, but by surrender. You may have stumbled, but you never stopped. You may have cried, but you never cursed his name. And that persistence has become the proof that you belong to him. Your name is not written in ordinary ink, it is carved in covenant. The scroll of remembrance is not a list of deeds, but a witness of hearts. Every act born from love for God becomes immortal in his presence. That is why your name is secure. It has been sealed by obedience. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 20, "Rejoice not that the spirits submit to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven." That verse is not distant, it is current. It is describing you. Chosen one. Your name is not merely written in heaven, it is celebrated there. You are not a forgotten servant, you are a recorded son, a remembered daughter. Heaven keeps record, not for your glory, but for God's justice. Every wrong you endured, every seed you planted in tears, every sacrifice you made in faith, all are documented in eternal light. The world may never acknowledge what you did for love, but heaven never forgets. When others overlooked your kindness, heaven archived it. When you forgave what wounded you, heaven annotated it. When you stood firm while others fell away, heaven underlined it. You are part of a divine ledger, written not in ink, but in spirit. These records are not idle, they speak. The book of remembrance testifies in times of divine reward. That is why doors will open for you suddenly. You will stand before opportunities you did not apply for. Favor you did not fight for. Restoration you did not request because your record is speaking louder than your requests. Heaven does not forget faithfulness. It answers it. The Lord remembers you, chosen one, just as he remembered Noah, Abraham, and Hannah. It remembers you. When the time comes for divine fulfillment, God consults the record, and when he opens the scroll with your name, blessings move from memory to manifestation. This remembrance is also a call. God is saying, because I have remembered you, now remember me. Stay faithful in prosperity as you were in pain. Remain humble in recognition as you were in rejection. The record is not only proof of your loyalty, it is also prophecy of your longevity. You will not fade. Because heaven remembers, you may soon feel waves of restoration without explanation. That is the record being honored. You might receive favor from unexpected sources. People who barely know you suddenly moved to bless you. That's not coincidence. That's remembrance becoming reality. When heaven remembers, it reverses. It rewrites what seemed final. The same power that opened the womb of Sarah and restored the fortune of Job is now opening the chapter of your reward. The record is calling your name, and the sound of it in heaven is turning into movement on earth. Chosen one. Let this truth settle deep. God's memory is mercy. He does not recall your failures. He records your faith. When he remembers you, he reactivates promises that seemed dormant. Every prophecy delayed by time begins to stir. Your name becomes a command, summoning angels to act on heaven's behalf. So now, as a prophetic sign of agreement, type 444 below. Do it not as a ritual, but as a reminder. 4 is the number of completion through creation, and 3 4s represent the fullness of heaven's remembrance over your life. The Father who called you, the Son who redeemed you, the Spirit who sustains you. When you write it, you declare, heaven remembers my name, and I remember his goodness. And let this be your seal of gratitude. Your story is recorded, your journey honored, and your faith acknowledged. Heaven does not forget the faithful, it crowns them, and your crown is already being formed from the memories of your obedience. Chosen one. The tides are turning in your favor, and the first wave that reaches you is called reversal. Heaven is undoing the shame that once tried to stain your story. Every wound that once felt like humiliation is becoming the birthplace of testimony. What was meant to break you is now bowing before you. The same roads where you stumbled will soon echo with the sound of your redemption. Shame was never meant to be your identity. It was a temporary shadow cast by misunderstanding. You walked through seasons where others questioned your worth, where your mistakes were magnified while your motives were misread. Yet even in those moments, God was not condemning you, he was covering you. The rejection that came from people became protection from wrong paths. Every closed door kept you safe from counterfeit opportunities. You carried the weight of embarrassment quietly. You didn't argue or explain. You let silence defend you because your spirit whispered, God will vindicate me. And now, that vindication is rising like dawn. You are about to experience what it feels like when heaven rewrites reputation. What they called failure Heaven calls formation. What they labeled as loss, heaven names as lesson. It is written that those who trust in the Lord will never be put to shame. That promise was not poetry, it was prophecy. Shame cannot outlive surrender. Once you yielded everything, your pain became an altar, and heaven marked it as holy ground. The ashes of humiliation have become soil for honor, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 7, "Instead of your shame you shall have double honor, and instead of confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them." And free. That verse is your inheritance. You are stepping into the instead. Instead of sorrow, joy. Instead of rejection, recognition. Instead of humiliation, heavenly honor. God is not giving you back what was taken. He's giving you double for every wound. The multiplier of mercy is active over your life. You will notice how people who once looked down on you will begin to approach you differently. Some will apologize. Others will observe in silence, but all will know that something divine has shifted. You will not need to speak of your change. Your peace will preach it for you. There is a serenity that comes when shame is stripped away. When you realize that what they used against you has now become your crown. Shame taught you compassion. It softened your heart toward those who fall, those who fail, those who fumble. You will now carry healing because you understand hurt. The empathy born from your pain will become the oil that flows through your words. You will not judge quickly, you will lift gently. That is the anointing of those who have survived disgrace. They become ambassadors of grace. And grace, chosen one, is the greatest reversal of all. Grace transforms ashes into beauty, accusation into affirmation, exile into embrace. You no longer walk as one marked by mistakes, you walk as one marked by mercy. The label of your past cannot cling to a spirit washed by divine purpose. You are not who they said you were. You are who God says you are, chosen, cleansed, commissioned. The fingerprints of shame have been washed away by the same hands that formed your destiny. You are walking into rooms that once closed their doors to you, not as a stranger seeking acceptance, but as a vessel carrying restoration. This is not pride, it is prophecy fulfilled. For every moment, you bowed your head in regret. Heaven is now lifting your chin in recognition. You are not a symbol of failure, you are a sign of forgiveness that works. Every scar remains, but now it glows. It tells a story of survival that points others toward hope. Let your spirit rest in this truth. Shame was a season, not a sentence. It passed through you, but it does not define you. Its residue has been replaced with radiance. God is not ashamed of your story. He's proud of your perseverance. The places that once echoed with pain will soon resound with praise. And when you look back, you will not flinch, you will smile. You will see how every humiliating moment became a hidden rehearsal for honor. You will thank God for not letting the shame stay, for turning every accusation into announcement, every tear into testimony. Chosen one, your reversal is not coming, it's here. Stand tall. The ashes beneath your feet have become gold. What tried to bury you has become the ground on which you rise. Chosen one, a quiet summons is being issued. In the Spirit, the gathering of the chosen has begun. Across nations, languages, and generations. A remnant is rising. They are scattered souls marked by similar scars. People who have walked through wildernesses that felt endless and wars that felt unwinnable. These are not perfect ones, they are purified ones. Heaven is calling them to converge, not for competition, but for completion. You may have felt alone in your obedience. For years, it seemed like no one understood the cost you carried. But now, the isolation is breaking. The Spirit is connecting you with others who carry the same fire. It is not a social connection, it is a spiritual alignment. You will recognize them instantly, not by appearance, but by resonance. Their presence will feel like home in a world that never fit. The gathering is not happening in temples made by hands. It is unfolding in hearts prepared by surrender. This is not an institution, it is an awakening. God is bringing together the ones who would not bow to compromise, the ones who still tremble at His voice. They are from different places, yet their spirits speak the same language: holiness, humility, and hunger, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 16, "Then those who feared the Lord spoke with one another, and the Lord paid attention and heard them. And a book of remembrance was written before Him of those who feared the Lord and esteemed His name." Oh, this is that moment. The same divine pattern repeats. Those who fear the Lord are finding each other again. Heaven is listening, writing, remembering. Each connection is recorded, each conversation sanctified. When the remnant gathers, the fragrance of reverence fills the air. The gathering has purpose. It is not to create another crowd, but to construct a conduit, an open channel through which the power and presence of God can move unhindered. When the chosen unite, their combined obedience becomes a current strong enough to shift atmospheres. One voice may tremble, but together they roar. The gathering is heaven's response to a generation drowning in noise. It is the sound of clarity rising again. You will feel drawn to people you never met before. But when your eyes meet, your spirits will recognize each other. There will be no need for explanation, no need for performance. It will feel like finding family you never knew you lost. This is divine kinship, the kind that transcends time and geography. Do not mistake this for coincidence. The gathering is not organized by man, it is orchestrated by God. The Spirit is arranging divine intersections, aligning schedules, prompting messages, leading hearts to the same space at the same time. When the moment comes, you will know, you will feel the surge of divine confirmation deep within you, like electricity in your soul. The gathering is also preparation. Before great outpouring always comes divine alignment. God never sends fire where altars are divided. He first brings His people into unity, not uniformity. This unity is built on shared surrender, not shared style. You may look different, speak differently, and live differently, but your obedience will sound the same. That harmony is what draws heaven near. When the chosen come together, revelation multiplies. What one sees in part, another sees in fullness. What one carries in seed, another carries in watering. The gathering becomes the garden of divine collaboration, each person a vital branch on the same living vine. You will see that none of you were meant to carry destiny alone. Heaven designed purpose as a partnership, and when the remnant begins to move together, the earth will feel it. chains will loosen. Regions will awaken. Forgotten dreams will resurrect. The gathering is not loud yet, but it is powerful. It begins quietly, like morning dew, soft, unseen, yet undeniable. Soon it will rise into the sound of rain. Chosen one, do not resist this pull. You were never meant to stay isolated. The wilderness was your preparation, not your permanent home. Now God calls you out of solitude into synergy. Your strength will multiply when joined with others who burn the same way. Do not fear betrayal repeating itself. Heaven will guard these connections. The same God who pruned your past company will protect your new covenant ones. The gathering is sacred, sealed, and sovereignly timed. So listen closely. The wind of the Spirit is whispering introductions. Hearts are being aligned, assignments intertwined. You will soon stand among those who understand without words. Together, you will carry the sound of awakening into the earth. The gathering has begun, and you, chosen one, are not just invited, you are needed. Chosen one. The call is clear. The Great Commission of the obedient has begun. You were not chosen merely to endure, you were chosen to extend. Every trial that purified you was preparation to carry light into places others fear to go. The world is starving for authenticity, and your obedience is the meal heaven has prepared for them. You have walked through enough wilderness to understand what it means to thirst for direction. Now God is sending you as living water. Your story is not meant to stay sealed. It is a letter of hope written by the Spirit, addressed to those still wandering in confusion. You are a messenger of mercy, carrying truth not as a weapon, but as a healing balm. When you speak, your words will have weight because they were forged in fire. Your testimony will break chains, not because it's dramatic, but because it's real. The Great Commission is not about shouting religion, it's about showing redemption. Heaven is calling you to move, to teach, to love, to reach. You are not simply saved, you are sent. The Spirit of God whispers, "Go, and tell them what obedience built, not to boast, but to bear witness." There are souls tied to your story. People who cannot unlock their faith until they hear what you've survived. Your breakthrough is the blueprint for someone else's beginning. Every scar on your heart is a doorway of compassion through which others will walk into healing. As the Apostle wrote in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 3, "You are a letter from Christ, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God on human hearts." You, chosen one, are that living letter. Heaven inscribed your journey so that the world might read His mercy through your life. Wherever you go, grace follows as ink still wet upon your soul. Your voice may tremble at first, but each word will be guided by the one who sent you. The Great Commission of the obedient is not about numbers, it's about names. Every act of kindness you extend, every truth you share, every heart you lift becomes a name written into heaven's story. You will not need a stage, you will need sincerity. You will not need perfection, you will need presence. The world does not need another echo, it needs an encounter. And you carry it within you. This mission is not limited to pulpits, it unfolds in daily living, in the workplace, at home. In the marketplace you will reflect heaven through your consistency. Your obedience is a language that transcends culture. Every yes you live out becomes a verse in someone else's redemption song. And as this message finds you, pause and breathe. If your heart stirs, if something in you says, "This is what I've been waiting for," know that heaven is confirming it. You are not too late, and you are not too small. The same Spirit that raised Christ now empowers you to represent Him. If these words water your soul, help this river keep flowing. When you like, share, or subscribe, you are not promoting a person, you are extending a purpose. Each click becomes a ripple that might reach someone at the edge of despair. A share is not just a digital act, it's a lifeline thrown across the sea of souls. And if your spirit feels compelled, let gratitude become action. A donation, given in love, is like oil poured onto the altar. It fuels the fire that keeps these words burning across the world. It's not obligation, it's participation. When you give, you say to heaven, "Keep the light moving through me." Lend your generosity becomes a parable. Just as a seed buried in soil disappears before it multiplies, what leaves your hand never truly leaves your life. It returns as impact, unseen yet undeniable souls awakened, hearts healed, destinies realigned. That is the miracle of obedience. It multiplies. And when you comment below, share what these words stir in you. Your story might be the spark that reignites someone's fading flame. You never know who reads your reflection and decides to believe again. This space is not an audience, it's an altar where testimonies meet. Chosen one. This is your commission to live out loud, to shine without shouting, to love without limit. The Spirit within you will guide your steps, supply your words, and steady your heart. You are heaven's messenger, wrapped in human skin. Walk humbly, speak boldly, and love fiercely. The world is not waiting for perfection, it is waiting for presence. And yours carries divine fragrance. Now go, not in haste, but in holiness. Carry the message, become the message, and let your obedience echo beyond time itself. Chosen one. Glory is arriving, and with it, the final test. The light that once seemed so far away now rests upon you. Favor surrounds you. Opportunities open. Voices begin to recognize what heaven always saw. Yet this is not the moment to relax. It is the moment to remember. For as glory rises, so does the temptation of pride. The higher the mountain, the thinner the air, and humility becomes your oxygen. You have reached a place where many stumble, not because they lose faith, but because they forget foundation. The test of humility is the hardest of all, for it disguises itself in success. Pride does not shout, it whispers. It says, "You deserve this," instead of, "He entrusted this." It shifts your gaze from the giver to the gift. It replaces gratitude with entitlement. And slowly, subtly, the heart that once bowed in surrender begins to stand in self-sufficiency. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 75, verse 7. It is God who judges. He brings one down and exalts another. Let that truth stay like a compass in your spirit. Promotion is not proof of superiority, it is a stewardship of trust. You have been exalted because you endured humility, and you will remain exalted only if you continue in it. God lifts those who remember the valley even when they stand upon the mountain. Humility is not self-hatred, it is self-awareness in the presence of greatness. It is knowing who you are without forgetting who He is. It is understanding that power flows through you, not from you. You are a vessel, not the source. And the moment a vessel begins to think it can fill itself, it cracks. This is the test that meets every chosen one at the threshold of destiny. You will now walk among greater circles, be entrusted with heavier assignments, and carry influence that reaches beyond your imagination. But influence without intimacy is dangerous. Stay close to the voice that lifted you, or the noise of admiration will drown it out. You will notice subtle shifts in your environment, people praising, expecting, depending. Some will look to you for answers you do not yet have. Do not pretend, stay honest. The humility to admit, "I don't know," keeps your spirit pure. God is not looking for flawless vessels, He is looking for faithful ones. When you remain teachable, you remain touchable. The Spirit will often remind you of your early days, the hidden places, the whispered prayers, the trembling obedience. Those memories are not meant to shame you, but to shape you. Remembering where you came from keeps your soul anchored. Gratitude is the greatest guard against pride. You will also find humility tested not only in success, but in response to others' failures. Be gentle. The same grace that lifted you will one day be needed by someone who falls. Never use your rise to measure another's worth. The ground at the foot of the cross remains level for all. There will be moments when people misunderstand your humility as weakness. Do not defend yourself. Humility does not argue, it absorbs. It is not fragile. It is firm in knowing that only God's opinion matters. Every time you choose silence over self-justification, you pass heaven's clear test. Chosen one. This final test is not about losing what you've gained. It is about proving you can handle what's next. God does not withhold glory. He protects it. He will allow the fragrance of success to surround you, but will remind you often, "This is still mine." The oil that flows from humility cannot be imitated. It carries purity that pride can never counterfeit. You will find yourself surrounded by opportunities that could exalt your name quickly. But the Spirit will whisper, "Wait, build slowly." Obedience in success looks different. It is quieter, simpler, but more powerful. When you resist the urge to hurry, heaven can trust you with history. Remember, humility is not bowing your head, it is bending your will. Every time you yield, the heavens widen. Every time you serve, the crown settles deeper on your head. You were never meant to be worshipped. You were meant to be a window through which others see God's light. And so, when the glory feels heavy, kneel. When the applause feels loud, retreat. When your heart feels proud, repent quickly. This is how the chosen stay chosen. The test is not over. It has merely changed form. You passed the fire of struggle. Now you must pass the fire of success. The same God who met you in weakness now watches for you in strength. Stay small in spirit, even when standing tall in purpose. That is how you endure to the end. Chosen one. The circle is closing. The revelation complete. The voice that called you from the shadows now stands before you in full light. What was mystery has become meaning. What was preparation has become purpose. Heaven, having watched your obedience from the beginning, now speaks plainly, not in riddles or parables, but in understanding. This is the unveiling of why. You were chosen not because you were perfect, but because you were willing. God did not seek strength, He sought surrender. From the beginning, He looked for a heart that would say yes, even when everything screamed no. And in you, He found that heart. Every test, every trial, every waiting season was heaven proving not your worth, but your willingness. Look back for a moment. Do you see the pattern now? Every loss protected you. Every delay developed you. Every tear washed your vision clear enough to see beyond yourself. The pain that confused you became the path that carried you here. What felt like isolation was incubation. What looked like punishment was preparation. God was never far away. He was forming the vessel that could carry this revelation. And now, heaven speaks the truth you have longed to hear. I never left you. He never forgot you. I never wasted your pain. Every unanswered prayer was an answered process. Every silence was a shaping. Every ending was a beginning disguised. According to what is revealed in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. Oh, that open door is before you now, not a physical threshold, but a spiritual reality. It represents the moment when purpose becomes partnership. You are no longer waiting for God to move. God is now moving through you. The revelation was never meant to end with understanding. It was meant to continue in manifestation. This is the secret heaven has waited to tell you. Everything you endured was heaven training you for trust. Obedience was the language through which heaven taught you how to hear. And now that you have learned that language, the conversation deepens. God will begin to reveal not only what He wants you to do, but why He made you who you are. You are not random. You are revelation walking. Every scar on your soul carries scripture. Every victory contains vision. The message of your life is not what you say, but what you have survived. You are heaven's proof that obedience still opens doors, that surrender still carries strength. Chosen one, as the revelation completes, humility must remain your anchor. You will carry wisdom that others seek. But remember, it is borrowed light. You are a mirror reflecting divine understanding, not the source of it. Stay polished by prayer, kept clear by compassion. The more light you reflect, the more shadows will try to surround you. But light born of revelation cannot be dimmed. It multiplies in darkness. The reason for your journey was never just personal, it was generational. You were chosen to break cycles, to repair breaches, to restore honor where it was lost. The obedience you practiced is now inheritance for those who will follow. Your yes will echo through bloodlines, long after your name fades. The fragrance of your faith will linger, and in the quiet of your spirit, heaven whispers the final truth. Now you understand what I was doing all along. You were being made into a message. Your waiting became wisdom. Your scars became sentences in the story of divine mercy. You were never overlooked. You were being written. This is the end of one revelation and the beginning of another. For revelation never truly concludes. It evolves. God will continue to unfold Himself to you as you continue to walk in wonder. The scroll is not closing, it is turning. And with each turn, heaven will trust you with greater truth. So stand now at the open door, the journey through pain, obedience, separation, and surrender has led you here to partnership with purpose, you no longer ask, "Why me?" you now declare, "Send me." You no longer fear the unknown, because you have walked with the unseen and found him faithful. The revelation is complete, not because every question is answered, but because your heart no longer needs to ask. You trust the author, and that trust is the truest revelation of all. The scroll closes. Below, chosen one. But the story continues through you. What began as whispers has become a voice. What began in secret now shines in sight. You have walked through fire and found faith, through silence and found sound. This message has not just spoken to you, it has awakened within you something ancient, something divine. If these words have stirred your spirit, if even one line met you in the place where you were breaking, let this moment become movement. Like this message, not for vanity, but as a sign of victory, your quiet Amen in the language of the digital world. Share it, not to spread a name, but to send a light. Someone scrolling in silence needs what found you today. Subscribe so that the river keeps flowing, that you remain part of this circle of revelation where heaven still speaks. And when you comment below, let your words be more than text. Let them be testimony. Tell what these moments awakened in you, for your story will heal someone else's unbelief. The revelation ends here, but the awakening continues wherever you carry it. Go now. Chosen one, live the message.